Let's talk about two new polls from the state of Iowa. The big story in the first two primary states on the Democratic side, of course, have circled around Iowa and New Hampshire, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders appears to be pretty well ahead in New Hampshire and sort of tied in Iowa. And we have an interesting new poll by CNN ORC, which puts Bernie Sanders very far ahead of Hillary Clinton in Iowa, 51-43, with Martin O'Malley at 4%. The big question, Lewis, is the poll accurate? Can we trust the methodology? The good news is that this poll does include cell phones in addition to landlines. Oftentimes, when we see Bernie not do well in polls, cell phones are very much underrepresented, which underrepresents certain age brackets which are favorable to Bernie Sanders. The bad news in terms of accuracy is that the sample size is only 280 voters, which is a smaller sample size than we like to see. But because of the likely voter algorithm that this poll uses, they tout a 2% margin of error, which is pretty good. Now, we have another new poll in Iowa from CBS. In that one, Bernie Sanders is ahead, but only by one within the margin of error, 47-46%. And then, of course, when we look at the Real Clear Politics average of recent polls in Iowa, Hillary Clinton is still ahead, but not by that much, only by about 5 points now, just slightly outside of the margin of error for some of the polls included in that. She is 9 points ahead in a recent KBUR poll, but that poll's margin of error is twice that of the CNN ORC poll. We're a week away, Lewis. I mean, in a week plus 10 hours, we are going to know what the results are in Iowa. And at this point, it seems as though Iowa could be huge in terms of, number one, the impact on momentum that it could have, and number two, the impact that many people will have on the perception of this race. The reality is, with proportional delegate allocation, a 52-48 win for Hillary Clinton in Iowa is not very different than a 52-48 win for Bernie Sanders in Iowa, right? Statistically speaking, it's not going to be a game changer, more than likely, in this race. In terms of the optics, though, it could be a huge game changer.
Yeah, Bernie needs to win. It could be a game changer. I think Bernie will win both.
Really?
But, one of the little side bonuses to, after the primary is not necessarily seeing who wins so much as finding out which of the pollsters are full of you-know-what.
Oh, we always love to see that. No question about it. And in Iowa, some of the political experts I've been talking to say that the ground game is super important in Iowa because you have a caucus situation. You don't just show up and cast a ballot, right? You show up, you sit at tables, you hang out. The weather can be bad in Iowa on February 1st. It could be tough to say, it could be easy rather to say, I think I'm just going to stay home. I'll vote in the eventual election that we have here. So the ground game is huge in getting people that support your candidate to the caucuses. And every report that I've read and everybody I've spoken to, Lewis, says Bernie Sanders has a really good ground game in Iowa. We will see if it pays off in just a week.
Yes, I'm rooting for Bernie, Dave, all the way. You got to be confident.
Talk to us about this on Reddit. We have a Reddit discussion forum. Go to davidpakman.com/Reddit. That's REDDIT. We'll take a break. After the break, we'll talk to somebody who sounds really convinced that Bernie Sanders will be our next president.